Hello, this is the ayahuasca presentation presented by Gabriel, Megan, and Jasmine, aka Group 9. Drug classification. Ayahuasca is a psychedelic, which is a subclass of hallucinogens. The brew induces intense sensory experiences such as visual and auditory hallucinations, as well as feelings of euphoria, connection and unity, powerful emotions, and introspection. The altered state of consciousness is what separates hallucinogens and psychedelics. Both drugs alter perception, cause hallucinations or intense sensory experiences, but only psychedelics produce a unique state of consciousness characterized by vivid and colorful hallucinations, distortion of time and space, and feelings of insight, connectedness, and spiritual exploration, which is what was previously described in the paragraph above. Names. This drug does not have a chemical name because of its complexity of multiple chemically active ingredients, DMT and MAOI, as well as other chemicals that can be added, which will be explained in the next slide. However, because of its indigenous origins in the Amazon basin, it goes by numerous other names in different indigenous languages, such as Yage in the Kofan language, Kamarampi in the Arawakan languages, Uni in the Yamanawa language, and these are just a couple, but there's more. The name itself is from the Quechan language. It's pronounced the same way, but spelled as Ayawaska, and it translates to liana of the soul/corpse. Aya translates to soul/spirit or corpse/dead body. Waska translates to rope or woody vine, aka liana. Some other common names that aren't like indigenous is La Purga in Spanish because of its purging side effects, which will also be mentioned later on in this presentation. Huasca is just the regional name in Brazil, which I guess could count as a street name. And Daime in Portuguese from Santo Daime's prayer of give me light, give me strength. And there's the prayer in its original Portuguese form as well. Basic description. Its physical appearance is the Banisteriopsis caapi vine, and that picture where it looks like bunch of branches is the vine. It's the stem of the vine, and it's also known as the soul vine or simply ayahuasca. The plant is traditionally ingested as a brew. The stems of the vine are brewed alongside the leaves of the Psychotria viridis shrub, which is the other picture of the plant. It's not listed on here, but sometimes the brew could also be also contain other plants. However, these two plants are the ones that are traditionally used. It is a multi-day process of macerating and brewing these plants. The drink turns out to be a brown reddish color with a potent smell and taste. Usually it's a shaman responsible for preparing the brew, as it is used for indigenous religious rituals in South American countries such as Brazil, Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador.
My name is Megan Hetherington, and I will be doing the mechanism of action slides for the drug ayahuasca. How does the drug work within our body? Typically, ayahuasca is made up from two main plants, the first one being the Banisteriopsis caapi, which contains MAO inhibitors, secondly being the Psychotria viridis, which contains the main psychedelic compound DMT. Normally, when someone consumes DMT by itself, the body breaks it down pretty quickly using enzymes found within the stomach called monoamine oxidase, MAO. Due to the inhibitors in the Banisteriopsis caapi, they prevent these enzymes from working, which allows DMT to travel through the bloodstream, through the blood-brain barrier, into the brain. Now, once DMT reaches the brain, it activates receptor sites that cause strong emotional responses, intense visuals, and a deep altered state of consciousness. These effects can last 4 to 6 hours, with effects starting after 30 minutes of usage. Now, which neurotransmitter systems are going to be affected? The main system affected is the serotonin system, especially the 5-HT2A receptors, which are responsible for our mood, our sensory perception, and our cognition. DMT binds to these receptors, leading to intense visual hallucinations and changes in our thought patterns. The MAO inhibitors increase serotonin levels by preventing its breakdown, which further intensifies the psychedelic experience. Ayahuasca may also interact with our dopamine pathways, which can influence our feelings of motivation, reward, and emotional insight. Lastly, what are the primary brain regions involved? First, you have the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for our self-awareness, our decision-making, and our emotional regulation, has seen some increased activity, which may explain some of the deep emotional reflections. Also, the default mode network, the DMN, which is linked to the sense of self or ego, becomes less active, leading to feelings of ego dissolution or connection to the universe. Also, the limbic system, which processes our emotions and memories, including the amygdala and hippocampus, becomes highly engaged, often bringing up past traumas or emotional insights. Lastly, the visual cortex in the occipital lobe becomes more active, contributing to vivid imagery and hallucinations even with the eyes closed. Now, all these brain changes created a powerful experience that can feel spiritual, emotional, or even highly introspective to its users.
This section is on the effects and consequences of ayahuasca. First, let's start with the therapeutic side. Ayahuasca has been used for centuries by indigenous communities in the Amazon as a tool for healing, guidance, and connecting with the spiritual world. More recently, modern research has taken interest. For example, in a 2019 randomized controlled trial in Brazil, patients with treatment-resistant depression, aka people who hadn't improved with standard medications, were given ayahuasca. Within 24 hours, their symptoms decreased significantly compared to the placebo group, and many continued to feel relief even a week later. Other studies have explored its potential for PTSD and substance use disorders, showing that if they help people confront traumatic memories and even reduce cravings, this suggests it could one day play a role in mental health treatment when used responsibly. Looking at the short-term effects, ayahuasca is most widely known for its intense hallucinogenic experience. People often report extremely vivid visions, deep introspection, and altered perceptions of time and self. Some describe feelings of joy and clarity, while others face anxiety, fear, or even revealing painful experiences. Physically, ayahuasca almost always causes nausea and vomiting. This is known as the purge. While this may sound unpleasant, in traditional ceremonies it's seen as a form of cleansing, a way to release the negative energy. Other effects can include sweating, diarrhea, and increased heart rate. When it comes to long-term effects, many people describe lasting changes well beyond the ceremony. Some report feeling connected to others, more spiritually grounded, or more optimistic. There's even evidence suggesting shifts in personality, such as increased openness and decreased neuroticism. However, there are risks too. For certain individuals, especially those with a history of psychosis or severe anxiety, ayahuasca can trigger long-lasting distress, flashbacks, or destabilization. So while some come away feeling healed, others may face psychological harm. Now, about addiction potential. Ayahuasca isn't considered addictive in the way alcohol or opioids are. It doesn't cause physical dependence or withdrawal symptoms. Most people don't even want to repeat the experience frequently because of how physically and emotionally demanding it is. That said, there is still the possibility of psychological reliance if someone uses it as an escape from reality instead of addressing their problems. Finally, let's touch on the legal status. Because ayahuasca contains DMT, which is a Schedule I controlled substance, it's illegal in many countries including the US. However, there are exceptions. In Brazil and Peru, ayahuasca ceremonies are fully legal and part of cultural tradition. In the US, a few religious groups have won the legal right to use it for spiritual purposes. With researchers showing potential therapeutic benefits, there's now a growing debate about whether it should be reclassified for medical use in controlled settings. Ayahuasca is a complex substance. On one hand, it holds promise for treating conditions like depression and PTSD, and has a long cultural history of being used for healing. On the other hand, it carries real risks, both psychological and legal. That's why it's important to view ayahuasca not just as a miracle drug, but as something that needs careful study, respect, and the right context. Thank you.